you know, what I'm just like currently in the middle of that I just don't like? School. All right, school, college, university to be exact. I know some people refer to it as uni, but I just genuinely don't like it. I mean, I'm going to it in order to get like my degree in something that I didn't want in the first place, only to obviously find out towards the end of it all that I'm not necessarily doing great in the classes that I'm taking because there's a handful of them that are dealing with subjects that are just not my strong suit. And no matter how many times I try to wrap my head around it, I just don't understand it. Now, I do start to get pieces of parts of it, but I don't understand all of it in its entirety. And I know people will say, well, then you need to practice. And the thing is, I take all the notes that like my professors will give me. I'll come home and I'll look over them while trying to do the problems that are assigned to me, and I'm not able to do any of the problems that are assigned to me because it is just extremely. It is just too much. It's really complicated, and it gets overwhelming. And at times, I just don't really know what on earth to do. So, with that being said, I decided that I was gonna swap majors because I don't believe my parents will let me drop out. Even if they did let me drop out, I'd have to find some alternative, which obviously would be another job. And I just juggle like two, maybe three jobs at a time and just do it until I find some purpose in life. But to be honest, I've done something like that in the past with school, and it was cool for a while. It kept me busy, it kept me distracted. But if I ever lost sleep or if I was running like late to class or something, it would eat at me. So I don't want to have multiple jobs while in school. And before I decided to just up and call it quits entirely, I decided that I'm going to change my major. So my original major was computer engineering. I thought it'd be a really great like choice to pick because I built my computer. I've had the help of friends, but they weren't here physically the first go around. They were kind of just telling me what to do basically over the phone, except I was also using like the manuals and help guides that came with certain pieces and parts. And I had also watched a YouTube video or maybe two while I was putting it together. And I mean, I put it together. That's one thing that I've noticed that like I have like a habit of doing. If I have to like take something apart and put it together, the way that I put it together, it's going to run, it's going to work, it's going to do like what it was intended to do, but it's not going to be built the way that like it was in the manual, right? So like for example, I'm in computer engineering as a major, but I'm only in like my first year or so, and so I was in a class, digital logic laboratory, where all we basically do is use breadboards. And if you don't know what a breadboard is, it's like a circuit board that they connect wires to, and we connect these cables and wires all across this circuit board, and then we plug it into this machine, and if the lights on it turn on, then we've done our job. If the lights on it don't turn on, then we've done something wrong and we need to go back and but yeah, we have to go back and fix it. And it's not entirely hard to fix if you can kind of understand what you're doing, at least to somewhat understand what you're doing. But the whole process of being able to plug wires into it is what starts to stir up somewhat of a problem. For example, if what we have to do is we have to solve these problems on a board. Most cases, it's a truth table. If you don't know what a truth table is, I guess your best bet would be to like go to Google and search up truth table. It's I don't even really exactly know how to describe it, but I'll try because I know it's not impossible to describe something. Um, think about it like binary code, and with every I guess possibility that you could have of a certain binary code combination, you're supposed to give answers to them to a specific degree. And all that is actually supposed to be extremely simple. It's just I've skipped over it so much that I don't know what I'm doing. But we have to do that. Then, after you move all that over to a certain degree, we've been using half adders and full adders and 2-bit multipliers, which are basically these entirely different ways to draw out diagrams based off the code that we have. Then, after we use whatever we have to do to convert them, we put that finished diagram that we've drawn and gotten checked off onto a computer so that we can do the schematics. once we do the schematics, which is really just a virtual version of it, we end up moving all that over to the circuit board, which you can see the schematics as a type of help tool for us as like a frame of reference, like a virtual circuit board. And we're using that to actually put the original like physical circuit board together. And that's basically all the class is. It's not entirely hard, but it is very time consuming and overwhelming if you don't know what you're doing. So some of my classmates have just walked out of class. They decided they didn't want to do it because they knew they weren't going to get it done. Some of them don't even show up to class because they just don't like the class. And I, the revelation hit me. I mean, I did what I need to do. The teacher at the time came over and helped me put some pieces together because I was working by myself and everybody has to work in a group. And when he came over and helped me, um, I lit up one LED, one light bulb, and we're supposed to light up four. I lit up one, and he said that that's a 75. While goofing off, I ended up lighting up another one by myself, and that turned my grade from a 75 to an 80. If I would have gotten all four of them, it would have been 100, but I knew that my schematics were off because you're supposed to put gates on these circuit boards, and all these gates really are just like pins that you stick on the circuit board. Not like pins like pins and pencils, but not like pins like bobby pins either. Think of it like a pin that you clip onto like your shirt, like a button, right? Or something that you put on like the back of a backpack, like a mini badge, a little button, a pin. And it's basically something like that. And you put them onto the circuit board, and all your wires go around them, and they all connect together to have this functioning, like in unison thing happening. But we couldn't get that to work. And by we, I mean majority of the class, because there is only one or two groups who actually knew what they were doing. And you're only in like groups of two, so it's really a pair. There were like one or two people who had a group of three. But yeah, I mean, it's really, I didn't enjoy it, right? I mean, I was kind of happy when I got one of them to light up, but I knew that I didn't entirely know what I was doing, even though I was like continuously going back over my work. And my professor was trying to help me out, but he also knew that I didn't know what I was doing. And to be honest, I think at that point he was just tired, not only of helping me, but helping everybody, because we were told that that was going to be our last lab. Unfortunately, we have three more coming up, and the semester isn't over, so I doubt that that's going to be our last lab. But with all that aside, that's just one class. I also have digital logic, which is the actual class where I sit in there for about an hour and watch a teacher write on a board the truth tables and equations and Boolean expressions that are related to whatever problem we're solving. And once again, if you don't know what you're doing, it's going to seem overwhelming. But also, everybody's quiet in this class. We're all staring at a board in the dark while the teacher talks about something that nobody really has any huge interest in. So the teacher eventually just stopped caring, right? At one point, I think she just liked hearing herself talk because everybody was pulling out their computers and their phones, well, their laptops, and their phones, and just doing whatever because they just weren't listening anymore. They just tuned out. Majority of them just tuned out. It was only like two or three who were actually listening. So, yeah, and I remember at one point we were all in a group chat. Whenever you came to a new class, you make a group chat with everybody so that you could help each other and let each other know if class was canceled or if certain work was due a certain night. Because sometimes some teachers would slip up on Canvas. But yeah, there was that class, and then Calculus 1 wasn't terrible, but at the same time, I didn't know what I was doing for a lot of it, and um, yeah, I mean, I feel like that's pretty self-explanatory. It's math, and the other two are basically math as well. So, just not my strong suit. Besides that, I had some extra classes. Like I had to take this world literature type of English, where I'd have to basically write papers and solve quizzes with little mini essays and stuff based off of whatever we were learning at the time in class. But that world literature class was online, so we never really had a class. We just get assignments thrown at us every week, and that sucked. I had speech arts, which is basically public speaking, but we only spoke maybe 2 to 3 times out of the entire class period. That sucked. Not, and it didn't suck because of the speaking, because I mean it's a speaking class. Of course you're gonna have to speak. It sucked because we are a big class, right? There's like 40, maybe 50 of us, 30 to 50 of us, right? And the teacher decided to split us by having half of us come in on some days and half of us come in on others. She put it on the syllabus that if it said that we were both supposed to come in on certain days, then everybody would show up, but nobody did, and that's because she forgot. So we never really had days where everybody showed up, and I'd come in sometimes, and turns out I wouldn't have to, so I was waking up early for nothing. Some of the assignments we had, in a lot of classes, some of the assignments we had, majority of people didn't turn them in right, and the teachers were super strict and anal about it. But when they realized that we're college students who have jobs and have to juggle all these other classes, they just started accepting whatever we turned in, and it was just a lot. It was really just a lot, and honestly, I just did not enjoy it. I suppose that if I was only doing college, it'd be easier. But I had also picked up a job, and I started mixing and matching, mixing and matching up my hours at the job so that I only worked on like weekends for the most part. But a lot of my college work would be due on weekends, and I was also trying to keep like this balance of being stress free. So I'd spend some of my time either hanging out or playing games or sleeping to try to brush off the extra stress that I would have gotten from work, home, or school. And overall, it just became like this overwhelming mess that I could just not handle. And my parents are the type of parents where you can't be jobless for too long. You have to have some type of job. So if I'm not working at a place, then I need to be working for the school. I can't just be jobless and go to college. And I mean, that's not like crazy. That's not insane. Personally, I haven't really had to use my money for anything but gas for when it comes to going to college and back because I didn't stay on campus and paying my parents back little by little. They call it rent, but really it was nowhere near the price that rent should be, which is understandable for a college student who is darn near full time and trying to juggle at least one job while doing all of it. So yeah, it was just a pretty terrible experience. And then before then was worse because I had two jobs and I was going to college. My hours were a little lighter at college then, but the work wasn't too different. I was still getting a bunch of work that teachers expected me to finish on time, except at the time I was also doing two jobs. So I mean, it was heavy then too. And then when you mix like having a relationship or trying to build a relationship and trying to hang out with friends with the mix of it, you're just adding more stress onto yourself. So I mean, advice for me, um, if you go to college, you go to college for what it is that you want to go to college for, right? Forget what your parents or anybody else says. I mean, if it doesn't make enough money, it doesn't make enough money. But I mean, it's better that you go to college for what you want to go for and be happy leaving with a degree in something that at least you like to do than go to college for something you don't want to go for and end up probably failing a semester and owing a bunch of money back because you didn't have the drive to actually do that class. I was thinking about moving over to computer science because a few of my friends did, but in order to take computer science, I still have to take half the classes I'm taking for computer engineering, so that's not going to fly. So I've decided to just move myself out of STEM altogether and go for something more arts based. I know I'm not going to get anywhere, but hey, I'd rather be doing art, right? And probably doing some minimum wage paying job until I find my big break doing art than do STEM and be miserable for 4 to 5 years of my entire college experience while also juggling a job and trying to maintain somewhat of a social life that I never really had to begin with. So, yeah, peace.